going on, guys? Back. Real estate Q&A session week 92. I had to restart it because the session that we were doing, I guess people couldn't hear me. So I'm restarting this, wait for folks to pop back in here. Can you hear me? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yes, no, maybe so. All right. I don't know what the hell that was. I had my headphones off, and I had Bluetooth, and I had 5 bars, so I don't really know what the hell that was. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing rolling. Appreciate you guys for popping back in here. Let's go ahead and bring Ashton on to get this thing rolling to talk about short-term Airbnbs and all the good stuff that comes with that. Let's see, man, over here. Let's see, and I'm driving like crazy. There we go. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Trying to get y'all going, brother. Hold on. Let me see if I can put you on the speaker.
All right. You know, I also do IT, man, so you might need to hire me to work your videos.
Hey, look. You see I'm a busy man, bro.
I see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, I got you on the speakerphone now. So yeah, dog. Welcome on the show. Obviously, for guys that don't know, this is Ashton Souls. My line brother, known him for 10 years today.
At least.
At least 10 years. There's a station out there in Atlanta and has a decent amount of experience, if not a lot of experience, in the short-term Airbnb space. That is something I don't delve in. I tell you guys every day, I'm not going to speak on stuff that I just don't know. And obviously, he wanted to come on, talk to you guys about Airbnbs. And of course, I asked him some good questions, and maybe you guys can walk away with some value. So if you haven't done so already, or know about this whole show, because I know you get some folks over from your followers, this is Real Estate Q&A Sessions week 92 weeks straight. I'll give you guys value. This is where you can come and ask anything, everything real estate related, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. If you get value today out of what Ashton's saying or whatever, screenshot, post it to your story, tag both of us, and let folks know what we're doing each and every week, and we'll do more of these. Obviously, y'all know where to find me every single Thursday. So, Ashton, go ahead and take it away, brother. Introduce yourself and let folks know who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Again, the name is Ashton Souls. Really I specialize in short-term property management, short-term rentals. Even though I have on an Airbnb hat, I don't just say I do Airbnb because, you know, Airbnb is just a platform, but really short-term rental is so much more. So definitely want to thank you for having me on the show. I know I was supposed to do it last week, but I think we had a little hiccup. But, you know, it's only right that I come on for the 92nd episode. Shout out to the 92 babies, you know, turning 30 this year. But definitely, man, short-term rental, what can I say? So just to give you a little bit of background, I've been doing short-term rental for about 5 years now. So I've pretty much seen it all, everything from, you know, renting and re-renting out on short-term, re-renting out on platforms such as Airbnb, VRBO, different things like that. What they now call rental arbitrage, which wasn't even really a term 5 years ago, but now it's kind of a big thing. So everything from rental arbitrage to actually buying, owning, managing different short-term rentals. So the biggest thing, like I said, I wanted to say about short-term rentals is it's not just Airbnb. Everyone asks, you know, how do you start Airbnb? How do you start Airbnb? That's just a platform. But when you really think of short-term rentals, there's so much more because there are different platforms, there are different strategies, working with insurance companies for, you know, people who are temporarily displaced, working with travel nurses on their contracts in your city. So it's really a lot to the game. I would say the biggest question I get is, you know, how to get started. And it really depends on, you know, what you want to do, what's your overall end goal. If your goal is just to make a little bit of money, you know, get you some passive income. It's not really passive, but, you know, some would say it's passive income, additional income. then you can definitely go the arbitrage route, which is finding an apartment complex, finding a landlord, finding any type of owner that will allow you to lease out their property
Right.
and then lease it out on a short-term basis to other people. So that's how a lot of people will get started. You see a lot of people with Airbnbs and you think they're really doing it. Not to say that they're not, because there's money to be made on that side, but
Right.
they really don't have the ownership in the properties like you would if you actually owned it. When you own a property, you're really kind of eating three ways off of it. Not only are you getting the paid in equity that you're not having to pay for, you're
Right.
getting the appreciation in the property, and you're eating 2 to 3 times what you would get on a long-term rental. So
Right.
talking to a lot of long-term rental landlords, and Shaw, you can even speak to this. I would say, because people ask me all the time, why don't you just do long-term rentals versus short-term rentals? So let's say you buy a house for 200,000, just throwing out round figures. Your mortgage is 1,300, and you rent it out for 2,000, right? So you're
Right.
making about a $700 cap. And for most people, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good rental, getting you some cash flow. So the difference is with short-term rentals, same scenario. You buy a $200,000 property, rent it, or your mortgage is 1,300. Instead of being able to make $2,000 a month, you're putting yourself in a position where you can make $3,000 or even $4,000 a month in your busy seasons. So, not only again are you getting that paid in equity, that appreciation, but you're able to double, even triple some of your monthly profits. So
Right.
that's really the draw to Airbnb, or the short-term rental game, VRBO, using any of these different platforms, is your increased monthly profit that you're able to get. I'm actually working on my fourth property right now. And it's funny because I'll talk to different people and they talk about buying in this real estate market, and
Right.
how much it doesn't make sense. One, I don't know how it is up there in Baltimore area, but out here in Atlanta, man, it's not a lot of inventory. So even with interest rates rising and different things like that, these housing prices aren't going anywhere because at any given time, I mean, I'm looking right now with the criteria that I'm looking for, is probably about 1,200 properties, and I would imagine it's probably 5,000 people trying to buy properties within Atlanta. So, a lot of people are kind of waiting for this market to crash and different things like that. But, for my little bit of expertise, I don't think it's going to crash just because the inventory is not there for it to. But
Right.
from a business standpoint, it's a little bit easier to purchase properties because other than kind of the initial investment, you're not having to pay the mortgage. You're
Right.
not having to necessarily worry as much about the premium that you're going to pay for these properties because someone else is going to be paying for them. I rented when I closed on my last property in November. I was able to get it up by the 10th of the month, and I was able to make about $3,200 from the 10th to the end of the month. So that took care of my mortgage, that took care of my expenses, and kind of gave me some profit back, for my initial investment. So
Right.
it's really a good thing to get into, and I think it's a good business for people who are just trying to get started in business. You have an opportunity to learn on your own. There are so many resources out there for you to grow, and
Yeah.
the biggest thing within our community is creating wealth in real estate. And a lot of us can't do that because we don't own real estate. Some
True.
people aren't privy to the information of being able to buy a property for, let's say, 170,000, and 2 to 3 years later, now it's worth 320,000.
Right.
you know, and that's something that, I experienced personally. But like I said, people are waiting to buy these properties. People are like, oh, I'm going to rent for a little bit longer. But the more you wait, the opportunity cost is you're losing equity. And, that's the name of the game. Get into equity, being able to cash out, HELOC, flip that into another property, flip that
Right.
into another property, rinse and repeat. So, I know you do that on the daily.
Uh, got you. Got you. Got you. Now, I got a couple questions. Uh, I got people blowing on my jag real quick, but I got a couple questions. So I know we spoke. I know not everybody in the chat has Airbnbs. I know Karen. I see Carrington's down there. I know he's
Definitely.
got some. But for the folks that don't have Airbnbs, I know we talk about we should do it, we should do it, we should do it, right? Obviously, it's a great idea. Give me three things, 3 to 5 things. I know it's on the spot, but give me 3 to 5 things that people can do that want to get into Airbnbs that they can start doing now to put them in a position where they can, you know, get to that point where they are acquiring their first one.
Most definitely. I would say the biggest thing is knowing your market. Knowing the market you're going to get started in, knowing what, prices are as far as houses, knowing what the weekend travelers or the weekly travelers are looking like. I hear a lot of people, when I talk to them about Airbnb, and they'll say, oh, I have a house in, I don't know, the middle of nowhere, Alabama, or this and that. And it's like, how many people are going to be traveling to those areas? Some of them, if you buy a beach, it may be a good idea, especially if it's not a lot of Airbnbs in that area and you get a lot of travelers. But most of the time, you want to be in somewhat populated cities. And what you can do is look at certain sites such as Airbnb DNA, or there are other short-term rental platforms that you can use to really research the occupancy rate and the price that people are charging. So that way, okay, if I'm looking at buying in Atlanta and Baltimore and DC and Houston and Miami, you can look at, there are 100 Airbnbs. The average occupancy rate is 60 to 70%, and they're charging about 180 per night. So that way you can really do some strong projections on what you plan to make, and basically what your overall return on investment is going to be. So that would be the first thing I say is research your market. And then based on how much you have to invest, you kind of have some options. And I will say this is not one of those things where people say, oh, you can get started with no money down and this and that. It's not one of those things. You do have to have a little bit of, money to be able to put into these rentals. And that's whether you are renting, the apartment and renting it out, or even purchasing it. Even with renting, you're going to have your first month's rent, your deposits, furnishing, and things like that. And, back in the day, you could kind of furnish for a little bit cheaper because people weren't too picky. But now, there are Airbnbs that are literally on par with 5-star hotels. So people want, people want amenities. They want 65-inch TVs. They want pools and pool tables and different things like that. So, depending on if you're buying, let's say, a condo, you're buying a 2-bedroom unit, 3-bedroom unit, you have to have enough money to be able to furnish these properties properly. And you can use different things like Facebook Marketplace, Let Go, to find, different furniture and things like that. But the more time you spend searching for furniture, the more time it's going to take for you to get your property up and going. So definitely want to, again, research your market and have a little bit of money to invest and figure out what you want to do. If you want to do the rental arbitrage route, if you want to do the purchasing route, you need to figure out what's going to be best for you. If you're looking at a long-term investment, then, definitely purchasing is going to be the way to go. If you're looking at, the quickest or the easiest barrier to entry, rental arbitrage is a good way to go. And with rental arbitrage specifically, you have the flexibility to move. Let's say one location doesn't work out. You don't have to worry about, selling and buying another property. You can just end your lease and go ahead and get into the other property. So it's definitely some pros and cons to each. I see Carrington also talked about the Facebook group. Man, so I always tell people this, and very seldom do people listen. But there are different Facebook groups for Airbnb hosts. And when I say this is probably going to be your best resource, I would, pick that Facebook group over any course, over any YouTube series, over anything, because there are hundreds of thousands of hosts that do it, all the way from one property to, 50 to 100 properties. And there's so much knowledge in there where you can ask questions for free. And I mean, at any given time, you have 100,000 people who can give you their perspective on something. The big host with 100 properties, his method may not work for you with 1 or 2 properties, but you're going to find someone that's on your level or who's been in your position who's doing it the way that you're doing that can give you the information. So definitely that would be my third nugget. Thank you, Carrington. Use your resource and make sure you're joining those Facebook Airbnb groups, Facebook short-term rental groups, because
Right.
they really give you the golden ticket to be successful in this market.
Okay.
And the last thing I'll say is automation, right? So for me, I'm a chill guy. I'm at times can can be lazy, but I still get it done. But
Right.
what allows me to get the most return on my investment, do the most work with having to do the least work my actual self is the automation. So
Right.
when I started 5 years ago, there wasn't a lot of software out there that allow you to automate the processes that you have to do with Airbnb, such as check in, check out, answer certain Wi-Fi questions, AC questions, um, just different things like that. But now there are a number of different channel managers, is what they call them, that will sync your calendars from different platforms. They'll respond to guests for you. They'll ask them for reviews, and it definitely makes your life like that much easier. Anyone who's doing it on a large scale is going to have a channel manager, and it's it's going to be your best friend.
Got you. So that's a lot of good information. And I think a lot of that is going to be key for somebody getting in. You know, one thing you brought up was utilizing that Facebook group, and everybody like nowadays people want to trade. A lot of people want to trade their money for their time for money, and go out and buy these expensive courses and stuff like that. And a lot of that coursework and stuff is either the information is not up to date or it's the same information you can go and Google.
That's definitely.
Or go ask somebody about, because now we're in the day and age where um, people that have experience are hip to I can make a lot of money just for the simple fact that I flipped one house or I did one Airbnb, and I can package what little information I know up and go said courses and all that kind of stuff. You have to be wary of. I like the Facebook idea because it's a closed off space where it's an atmosphere full of the same people that are trying to do what you do or have done it, and or answer those questions freely if they're in a group of just like that. It's the same thing with real estate investor groups in different cities, just like here in Baltimore. We got like a 60K group here in Baltimore, and people go and ask all different type of questions, and people freely answer. So
Yeah, definitely. Can you guys still hear me? Can we get a thumbs up if you can hear me? I don't know if they can hear us. There we go. I can hear you.
did you hear that phone call?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay, good.
Um, but
uh,
yeah, like
but
what you were saying, I actually, do Airbnb consulting, and even from someone who does it, it is definitely a workaround for people who don't want to do the work. And the thing about it is, eventually you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to research some things, yourself. I work in IT, and it's not something that I went to school for. I got into it. And the biggest thing that someone told me, because I was thinking about taking like a boot camp for it, he said, bro, you could pay $1,000 and still have to do the work, or you could just, look it up for free and do the work. So it's kind of one of those things. But for the people who don't want to do the work, I'm definitely here. Hit my hit my link. But no, like really, the reason why I do consulting is sometimes you do, um, you do need just kind of help and help organizing your ideas, help, looking in the right places. And these are definitely things that you are going to be able to do for free. But, if your timeline is a little bit shorter than the average person, it allows you to just expedite that and make sure your efforts are in the right place, because the knowledge that I'm given in these courses, it took me, or in this consulting, not courses, it took me 5 years to get here. You know what I'm saying? There were a lot of ups and downs. There were a lot of trying different things that didn't work. And the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I realized, man, is I've given a lot of knowledge away for free over the years. And for some reason, people don't listen to free. You know what I'm saying? It's only till they start paying they want to listen. So, hey, either way, I'm definitely down to give the information. I still give out a lot of game for free just because I want to see
Yeah.
people, succeed. It's not always about the money. It's definitely more about the success and being able to get more people in our community into the real estate market. I see
Yeah.
my boy, one of my boy Pierre's just jumped on here, man. I talk to, my friends every time I see him about purchasing property and about getting into the real estate game, not only as an
Right.
investor, but even just as an owner. There are so many significant benefits that you get from being a owner in real estate that we don't take advantage of. So,
Right.
this is just one way that you can turn that liability until you pay off the mortgage into an asset, something that's really giving you a return on investment. And hopefully you can build it up to the point where you're creating generational wealth with it. So,
Gotcha. I got one thing I want to ask you, because like I said, I gotta wrap up here shortly. But because I know there's some people that's actually interested in doing that, and you spoke about some things to do to get started, right? Certain places to look for this information, that information, all that kind of stuff. That's great, but I also want folks to kind of get an insight on the bad part, right? So, give me give me three quick hitters of things that they should avoid when looking to start their Airbnb endeavors.
three things to avoid. The first thing I would say is purchasing or renting a property that's too expensive. Everybody wants, especially if you're doing rental arbitrage, you want to get the condo or the apartment that's on the 22nd floor of the Bank of America building or whatever. And that rent is $2,500 $2,800 a month, and so you spend all your money on first month's rent, deposits, furnishing it, and then you only make $3,300 a month. And you're like,
Right.
man, I'm doing all of this work to make $300 a month. It don't make sense.
No, no,
you
no.
know So that would be the first thing I would say you want to avoid. What you will see in that Facebook group is it's a lot of information, but you'll see every day people selling their Airbnbs. You know,
Mm,
people selling, and it's crazy because they'll sell apartments. They'll sell the lease to their apartment. Sometimes people are selling houses, but definitely more few and far between. But people are selling apartments and furniture and all that stuff all day because it didn't work out, and it didn't work out because they're paying too much for their properties, or paying too much for their rentals.
question. I know you talking about your first point, but I got a question that coincides with what you just said. So just like rentals, before I buy a rental, right? You just said people purchasing properties that are too expensive, which means their underwriting process sucks. So, just like I buy rentals, I run numbers beforehand. I do the research beforehand to figure out, is my cash on cash return number going to be what I need it to be in order before I buy this, before I even spend any more extra time doing that. And there's a calculation and all that stuff to figure that out. Is there some type of underwriting or people can do that's going to require a little bit of research to come up with numbers so people can figure out, is that Airbnb worth their time to even buy? How can I figure out my potential profits before I buy? Right? That's what I want to know.
Okay. So the thing about it with short-term rental kind of being on this scale, kind of being a newer thing, I would say some of the traditional real estate calculations cannot be the best, not be the best tool for analyzing an Airbnb. I'll
Right.
give you a simple calculation. You look at any property, and you can use that site that I talked about, such as Airbnb DNA.
Right.
So it's going to give you an occupancy rate. So let's say your occupancy rate, like I said, 60 to 70%. What I normally try and do is do my calculations based on 18 days of getting the property booked. So whatever I plan to charge at this property, whether it's $100, $150, $200, I multiply that times the 18 days that I plan to have it occupied, and I do my numbers based off of that. So let's say if renting that property for 18 days, I'll be able to get $3,500. I know my rent or my mortgage on that property is going to be $1,400. I know that that's probably going to be an average of 5 stays. So I have my cleaning fee expenses that you have to take, out of that. Um, but that's what you want to look at. It's more forecasting, I would say, than it is a particular calculation, because every Airbnb is going to present different challenges. It's going to have different expenses. But
Right.
I would say you want to do your calculations based on what you're seeing out of the Airbnb or AirDNA data as far as the occupancy rates,
Right.
and what your potential expenses are going to be. Because if you paid, if you have a house next to someone, they paid 100,000, you paid 200,000. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different.
Right.
I know when when Polo and I were investing, he used to look at the cash on cash return, um, cash on cash return. So that is definitely a calculation you could look at. And like I said, it's going to be based on your average occupancy in that area, and see if it makes sense for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if like cap rates and all that stuff necessarily are great calculations, because when I've done cap rates, I mean, the numbers have been way above what you're going to get on a normal cap rate of a rental. Like,
Right.
would you say 14 to 15% is a good cap rate on a rental?
Right. Oh.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, with Airbnb, because you're getting, 2 to 3 times the profit on that, your cap rate might be 30, 40%. Um, so it's going to be a little bit different, but that cap rate may not be a good cap rate for Airbnb, so it doesn't necessarily tell the overall story of, is this a good Airbnb or not. I think it's all a personal decision, as far as what you want to make. If you want to make $1,000, if you want to make $2,000, you
Right.
really just have to look at the numbers. They're not hard calculations. Look at the numbers and see if it's going to make sense for you.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that was clear because long-term rentals and Airbnbs are different, right?
Right.
And depending on how you underwrite those deals, we just talked about people buying these Airbnbs at certain price points, not getting the return they're anticipating, and they end up having to sell them, right? So that means, like I said, there's some disconnect with their underwriting processes. So that's why I wanted you to explain to the folks that haven't known before. Is there some type of way of figuring out beforehand before you buy? Because obviously, y'all don't come on here to just gain information, all that kind of stuff, right? You come on here to avoid $10,000 mistakes. I've made them. Ashton, I'm pretty sure you've made them, and that's why I want to make sure we give the right information on this stuff to make sure we ask the right questions. So yeah, no, that's much appreciated, and I think that's something that people should keep in mind. Not every, and I say this all the time, just because you buy a house don't mean it's going to be a good investment, right? At the end of the day, it's what's the second word? It's an investment, and every investment is a risk. So no matter whether it's stocks, real estate, go to the casino, your heads or tails. It's an investment. It's a risk. There's always a chance for you to make money, but also lose money. And in
Most
real
definitely.
estate, Airbnb, obviously, you see your profits and things like that a lot sooner than you do with rentals. But either way it goes, if you set it up the right way and put the right pieces together, you can obviously make some money. I haven't delved into that space yet. It's just something I'm completely unfamiliar with. So I got some information today that kind of gives me a little bit more insight on if I did want to move to there, this is the process or whatever. And obviously I call Ashton. But if you guys don't know, if you haven't requested Ashton, then I ask you guys to request them. If you guys got any questions, sign up, and I'm pretty sure he's going to charge you for some consulting. But
Hey man, I actually do, I have a free consulting option on there, 15, 20-minute session where we can kind of go over some things, and really just answer some preliminary questions to know, is it worth it for you to do the consulting? Is it worth it to even do Airbnb? So definitely, if you guys are interested, if you want to get some more information for free, before you really spend any money, hit my link, it's on my page. Sign up for that free consulting option. More than happy to, share as much information that I can within that 15, 20-minute span to make sure you're making the right decision. Um, to finish off, you asked me about some other cons with Airbnb. And this one is probably going to be similar to things that you experienced, Shad, in your rental, managing and different
I can
things like
write a
that.
book. I can write a
Yeah.
book. Y'all don't know the half.
Bro, I can only imagine. So the semi difference is, especially when you're owning the property. I face some of the same issues that you face, Shad. The difference is I have to figure out how to compensate before my guest checks in at 3. you know so water heater goes out, air conditioner goes out,
Continue.
stuff like that. It is, sometimes very difficult to fix those things within the allotted time frame. Um, so my biggest tip for you guys would be, if you're going to get started in the Airbnb game, make sure you have a solid team. you know you have a water heater guy, you have an electrician, you have a plumbing guy, like anything and everything that goes on, that could go on with your house. Make sure you have a good contact list, good contact sheet that's going to have people that you can call in the event that something goes wrong. Because like I said, I mean, something goes wrong, not only are you spending money to fix it, but you're losing money because you're going to have to cancel that booking. It could affect your reviews, different things like that. So you definitely want to make sure you have a solid team around you that helps you overcome those objectives. Sometimes it seems like every month or every week is something going on with one of your properties, but like I said, having a solid team around you is definitely going to make that transition, or make that,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit
I've
easier.
got 5 minutes. All right. All right.
So I see we have, a couple people on, and I saw a couple things. Definitely, if you have any questions, please drop it in the comments. I'll try and answer before Shad kicks me off here in a little bit.
Oh yeah, I definitely got a slide actually.
Okay,
But no,
okay.
here's the beautiful part about what we do. I do this every single Thursday. You know what I mean? And there was one point where, and some of the OG folks that's been in here for a while, there was a point where I was bringing in guests like every other week or so, and so that is actually what we do. It's not just me talking. If folks want to come on and rap, I know Mobile Home Plug's been on one or a couple times before. Ashton, you've been on a couple times. I've had a couple people come on. We do this every week, so it's not like it's the last time we'll see Ashton. In fact, what I'll do is, I think there are a couple questions. I saw one just came.
I see one I need to hit before we get off. I see one.
Okay, go ahead and hit it. I'll give y'all 2 minutes.
Okay. I see someone ask, what is the biggest difference between short-term rental, um, I think she said, and Airbnb? Sometimes it could be one and the same.
Yes.
So again, short-term rental is the overall business. Airbnb is one platform. So
Mm,
when you're doing short-term rental, you're going to use Airbnb, but you're also going to use Booking.com, VRBO, your own direct booking site where you don't have to, pay additional fees to a company. So you're going to use all of these different platforms as well. You're going to build relationships. And for all of you that do Airbnb and you've never thought about this, I'm going to give you 2 gems: insurance claim, temporary accommodation, and travel nurses.
mm,
Those are 2 ways that you can get long-term bookings. I've literally had, from insurance claims or travel nurses, I've had 6 month, 7 month stays, from insurance bookings specifically, and you're able to charge them a premium. So you might charge them, $4,000 a month, and they're paying up front for 6 months, $4,000 each month. So you might get, literally a $15,000 check at the beginning for this stay, for this insurance claim or like I say, even for travel nurses, you're able to charge them, a premium. And I mean, they got money; they're definitely paying it. So I'd say the biggest thing again between Airbnb and short-term rental is Airbnb is a tool, short-term rental is the overall business. So don't let people put you in a box, and say, "Oh, you just do Airbnb." No, I do short-term rental. Airbnb is a tool that I utilize.
It's 30 of them.
I'll connect with you.
Let's see if there's any other questions that I can get to before Shad kicks me off. But yeah, that was the biggest one that I definitely wanted to hit, because a lot of people don't really know how to make that distinction between the overall short-term rental game and Airbnb. So thank you for that question.
I think we had one more, maybe.
Yeah, I don't even know how to.
Either way, I do got to slide. I got a million messages. But that's the crazy part. It's like these busy days, especially like a day like today, I can't even take an hour of time to just do stuff. But no, we'll go ahead and pencil you in, man. We'll find another date. And actually, like today was more like a like intro, like, hey, you know what I mean? Like we can obviously follow up and have more dialogue, more discussion. Because I actually do have a couple more questions. For the best sake of time, I can't ask them. And I'm pretty sure there's other folks that have questions as well. And you probably get a couple DMs. But yeah, guys, if you haven't done so yet, hit the follow button. Go follow Ashton on Instagram. Obviously, send him a DM. Let him know what you're trying to do. And I know my brother will help you out.
No, definitely. Hey, part 2 next week, post Columbia.
Yeah, go ahead and make that happen, man. We're going to make it happen. So appreciate you popping in here, Dom. We go ahead and try to get some stuff situated, and I will let you guys know what's good.
All right. Appreciate you for having me, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right.
All right. So let's do this, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I have ignored probably 6 phone calls and 10 text messages since we started, but that is all about the dedication that I have towards you guys. It's every Thursday, and during that time, I literally dedicated to you guys. So I think we hit an hour. Actually, I was only planning on doing 30 minutes, but we definitely hit an hour. Lane says mobile home plug was wondering if she could do a rental Airbnb for her apartment. Hold that question till next week, or DM Ashton. He will let you know that. All right. I apologize for the time constraint, but I have a lot to do today, and I still got to get my haircut at like 3:00. Anyway, so outside of that, yeah, we'll continue to do these things. And guys, if there's somebody in the real estate space that you want them to come on here, you know what I mean, and rap with us, like, do so. Or if there's a specific topic that I don't usually talk about or something like that you want somebody that actually does it to come on and talk, hey, request. And maybe I can get into the space where I bring more people on. Because I was doing that at a point in time, but things kind of slowed down, and I started doing solo shows again. I really don't have a preference when they arrive. But okay. So again, please feel free to ask those questions or request certain topics to be discussed that I might not talk about all the time. All right. Other than that, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, put a bow on it, and move forward, and so I can go ahead and take care of business. But outside of that, guys, this is Real Estate Q&A Session week 92. Next week's 93. If you got any value today, you know what I'm about to say. Screenshot, post it to your story, let folks know what we're doing each and every single week, because that's how we bring more people in. There's folks that came in here this week that they never showed up a day of their life, and now they know that this is where you can come and ask anything, everything real estate related. This is just the week where we talked about Airbnbs, but I do this every single Thursday. So hit the notification button or the follow button so you know when I go live, because normally it's at 12, but sometimes it's 12:15, 12:30. I'm a very busy guy, but I fit y'all into my schedule when I can. All right? So outside of that, let's go ahead and peace out. Leave you guys with the message. Always remember, spend time with your family, your loved ones, and your friends. Tomorrow ain't promised. We're always on borrowed time. Making money is great, but it's not the end all be all. If you're not spending time with your loved ones, you're doing them a disservice, right? You're doing them a disservice. All right? So appreciate every single day and the time you have with your people. They will greatly appreciate you for that. Be present. Be present. All right. So peace out. See you guys next week. Have a great weekend. R.I.P. Dolph.